Hello and welcome to the Brass Ringers podcast. I am Dale, joined as always by Mr. DKMRGN. He also goes by Dan. Dan, how are you?
I'm great, but I didn't stay up all night watching WrestleMania. I watched it today.
Coward.
You had to stay up and then do a whole day of work. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling rough. So not only was it a full day of work, it was out the door at 8 a.m. after getting into bed at 4:30 when the show eventually ended. And then what I was doing today is I was filming people go around a bunch of stores to like say, oh, look, we're open again. So I basically walked the majority of central London on a day when all the shops finally opened again. So it's been a lot of people today. It's been a lot. I managed to duck into Forbidden Planet though, which was very fun. So that kind of perked me up. But I had a nap. I had a little nap.
I didn't. I was gonna I had a goal today where I was like, I'm gonna go into a shop and buy a comic book. That's what I'm gonna do for myself. And then there was just like 8 people like queued outside the door, and I was like, nah, I'll leave it.
Yeah. I got in just before the queue. When I came out, there was this massive queue going for bloody miles, but I got in just in time. But we are not here to talk about comic books. That's another channel. No, we're here to talk about night 2 of WrestleMania. My first question before we jump into it, how have you found 2 nights of WrestleMania? Because I know a lot of people kind of, they weren't committed to the 2 nights. That sounds like I'm being like, you don't have the commitment. People have work on Monday, so staying up 2 nights in a row till 4:30 isn't a smart idea. What are your feelings towards this kind of 2-night system?
Well, instinctively, I didn't like it, but that's just because we usually have our WrestleMania ritual. We usually get together and we'll watch Takeover on the Sunday. We'll drink all day. We'll stay at watch WrestleMania. We'll book the Monday off, and so it interferes with that a little bit. But given the fact that it was lockdown, and we're basically in lockdown for 2 WrestleManias now, I'm fine with it because it gives you that kind of all-out wrestling extravaganza week-long feel. So you got 2 nights of NXT, 2 nights of WrestleMania, all the kind of shit in between. And that sort of adds to that sort of extravaganza feel. I'd like it to return next year. I don't want to keep it, but I've certainly enjoyed it this year.
2 3-hour WrestleManias or 1 8-hour WrestleMania?
1 6-hour WrestleMania, please.
We can only hope. So we will crack on now with the review of the actual show. It started in big fashion with The Fiend Bray Wyatt taking on Randy Orton in a match. Basically, let's get the spooky bollocks out of the way first. How have you found this rivalry kind of leading into it? What's your opinions on both of these guys, and kind of how did you feel before this match?
Well, I feel like the Fiend thing has been over for a long time.
Over as in like people are really into it, or over as in this needs to be over?
Oh no,
we're done.
Oh no, weirdly, I mean people are over it.
Just had to double check.
Yeah. When I saw this, they're doing this like whole thing where the Fiend is sort of these. I don't know. I guess he's been burnt alive, and then he's re-emerged from hell, and now he's like a new version of the Fiend. I was like, all right, fine. I guess I can get on board with that. Let's try again. So that's why I thought it was spectacularly weird that they just got rid of that for this, and we're like, no, we'll go back to this Fiend. I feel like the problem with it is that it's good for a bit, but there's not that much. There's not that many places you can go with it, because he's almost like a sort of Superman sort of figure. Like you can't. He's too powerful almost. So it's it makes the matches weird and not that exciting. So for me, I don't know. I think it could have been good. I love the mask. I think the Alexa thing could have been good. I like the whole idea, but it hasn't quite come together in something that I think can be like long lasting. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I mean, especially we'll get on towards the end of this match. They keep dropping bits with the Fiend where I'm like, okay, I'm curious to know where this goes, but it feels like it constantly has to be a stop and then a curiosity. You know, he's got to. They have to take away the momentum to give him something, and that feels wrong. And you know, for this unstoppable force that he's supposed to be, doesn't really like the doesn't get the results that he should get from that. I like the gimmick. I like the music. It's fun. I like the... I mean, I also understand why they didn't keep the burned alive Bray Wyatt costume. It looked incredibly uncomfortable. Like, I can't imagine that was fun to wrestle in.
Really?
It looked very stiff. So I get them just doing the magical... Now he's okay.
It seemed like a bit of a cock tease, though, because it was like that. Surely, wasn't that like the buy-in for the match? It was like, oh, this is a new Fiend. He's emerged from hell. Wasn't that like the point of the match?
I guess. But we'll quickly go over the match because this was a pretty quick match.
Really short.
The entrance was cut right down. I mean, I think the entrance in the end were the big talking points. Alexa Bliss coming down and winding a box-like structure, which I think we call a Jack in the Box. I don't know why Michael Cole kept referring to it as a box-like structure.
A box-like structure.
I was like, that would be a box. Is a box-like structure. I don't know. So he pops out of it and then like launches over to Randy Orton. I was a bit disappointed with that. I kind of thought he was gonna like just launch himself at Randy and get hit with an RKO immediately. That's kind of what I wanted to happen. Yeah,
immediately.
Like the big spectacular RKO. And,
you might as well have done.
The match is pretty standard affair, and then the match ends the exact same way the opening match of last night's WrestleMania ended. Distraction from the outside, turn around, hit with the finisher, and we're done. The distraction, of course, coming from Alexa Bliss, who had a costume change, got in the box, popped up from the box, and was bleeding black from her face. And so I have no idea what's happening with this. I don't know what the deal is with it. It looked very cool. Like all of the Fiend stuff, it looked cool. I don't know where they're going with it. Am I going to tune in to Raw to find out? Probably, because I'm curious. But I don't understand why the Fiend had to eat an RKO and lose for that. It was weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't really review it. It wasn't really a match, was it? Like, you can't really review it as a match, but I think the ending was... The thing is, the Fiend... I don't know what... The Fiend has to become something different if it's going to survive, I think. And I think having him eat an RKO, losing, and setting something weird up with Alexa, like, I don't know where they're going there, but at least it's interesting, and it makes you go... I'll
tune into Raw.
I guess I'll see where that goes. Yeah, so fine. Was what it was.
Also want to point out, I loved... There were two things I wanted to point out, actually. One from last night. I loved the Fiend's little Luke Harper tribute. That was very nice. The yeah in the ring. That was lovely. And then I didn't realize, but the night before the tag match, well, there was the Road Dogg one at NXT Takeover, but then the tag match, the New Day and AJ and Omos. AJ's coming out throwing up his, that, and then Omos is there doing that, and I'm like, did he not get the memo that he's throwing it up for DMX, wasn't he? Good lad. R.I.P. DMX. What a good egg. Another fact that's made me feel very old. How many WrestleMania matches do you think Randy Orton's now had?
Do you legitimately
Yeah,
want me to
I have to
guess? Let me
guess.
just try and work it out.
This is
18th.
his 17th WrestleMania match. That makes me feel really old
Wow.
because I saw his first,
Yeah.
and I'm old now. That's what I've learned. In following from night one, having kind of a similar pattern finish, we have a similarly structured card going straight into the women's tag team title match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and main event Tamina. Um,
Yeah.
did this blow your expectations away, or did it do exactly what we thought it was going to do on the tin?
It did exactly what I thought it would do. It pitted a load of women who were just the antithesis of exciting in the ring, with the exception of Shayna Baszler, who it really is the only loser here in all of this, Shayna Baszler. But it's. I mean, the match was. I mean, God. I mean, I can't believe it was a WrestleMania match. To be honest with you, I mean, why this could have just been on a Raw, and I still wouldn't have watched it. Like, it was. It was.
Do you know what?
Yeah. It was
I
what it
learned
was.
the other day because you were saying how we were both saying that Natalia's a bit older now. Do you know who the oldest? She's the
Shayna
oldest
Baszler's
person in the
older.
match. She's 40.
Yeah.
Moves like she's 20.
Yeah.
She's great. I hope she gets out of this somehow. Yeah, this match, nothing
I
happened.
hope so. I was kind of hoping. I mean, the women's tag team titles are fucking useless, so I was kind of hoping that
Would win it.
Natalya and
Yeah.
Tamina would win, so that then it would free Shayna up to actually go
something.
and do what she should be doing, which is fucking headlining pay-per-views. Like, she could be so great with so many of the babyface women on the roster, and instead she's paired with fucking Nia Jax, who's absolutely useless. So, yeah, the only real loser here is Shayna Baszler and the audience watching.
Yeah, I
live at
mean
home.
there were moments in this match where I was just like, oh come on, Tamina she took so long to get to the top that I was like, she's going to do something spectacular here, and she very gracefully
Yeah.
eats shit. It was not good, and that's all the time I want to.
It was the bit where there was like supposed to be a splash, but it was really just like she just fell, didn't she? She just sort of fell.
It was not good. Who knows where Tamina goes from here? But this is all I want to say about this match because we gave it way more time than it deserved last time. Go on.
Yeah, well, you know what? This was like a really long match as well. They got like quite a bit of time. A lot of these matches were sprints, but this was actually had a hefty bit of time, or it seemed like it did. Maybe it just fell slow. I don't know.
Turns out it was only 5 minutes. It felt like an eternity. And Tamina getting the hot tag to no crowd reaction. Like, she got the hot tag and the crowd went mild. It was, oh man. That was a rough time. Yeah. Anyway, next match. Yeah. Totally different. Balls to the wall. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn with Logan Paul for reasons. Are you familiar with Logan Paul?
I mean, in the same way, I guess, that you are. Like, I know he's a YouTube guy. I know about the Japanese forest thing. Like, I know the boxing thing. I know he's like a big famous guy.
I've lost you.
He's going to bring a lot of eyes.
I've got waiting for IV cam connection. Oh my days. What's occurring? I can still hear
me though.
I can still hear you. So you fix that, and I'm gonna keep talking. Yeah, I mean Logan Paul, I know of, as you said, for all those reasons. He's a guy that I get why he was there. It brings different eyes to it. The only thing that kind of upsets me, and I guess there's a thing with celebrity involvement now in wrestling, is that I'm worried how long this is taking. Is that they cut so frantically to him throughout this match that it dates the match. Like this doesn't get to be, you don't stick this on in a few years and think, what a classic match of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You're like, why do we keep cutting to this random dude like at ringside? It's very weird. And at one point he just seemed bored as well when they were cutting to him.
Match, isn't he? And it's like just not it's a bit awkward. I feel like the guy's never watched wrestling in his life.
It certainly felt like that. How you getting on there, by the way?
I'm working on it. It's
All right.
I know
Is it a whole
the
thing?
problem is. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
But just
I'm
keep going.
I'm good. I'm going to keep going. It was something that I actually wanted to talk about with the whole show was the camera work. It's not good for a lot of this. And where it was very noticeable to me was rewatching I rewatched the main event this afternoon, the triple threat. And on Roman Reigns' entrance, I remember when he had the match with The Undertaker, whatever with that match, but the moment at the end of the match where he's on the ramp and he's looking back and the fireworks are going off behind him, right? You get to see all this pyro, him there shot, looks incredible. This time it was like he lifts the belt, it stays kind of on him in a mid shot, and then just cuts to pyro and cuts back, cuts back, cuts back. Oh, have I completely lost you now? Or are you still with me?
I should be on a different camera.
Well, I've now just got a Skype logo.
I've had to switch my my camera out.
Yeah. Hey, there you are. Whoa, right. Look at this angle. Look at them beautiful curtains.
I've had to really think on my feet there. I'll tell you what the problem was in a second later on, but go on. Sorry.
No worries.
Keep going.
So the camera angles just felt very uninspired, and then the cutting between scenes was just really frantic. Like, I know there's a lot of criticism towards WWE and how many cuts they have in like such a short time, but it would be like actions happen, and in this match as well, actions happening in the ring, cuts Logan Paul, cut back, and like within 10 frames we've cut to and from. So I haven't even registered what the reaction was, and I don't know if that's because they cut to him and they went, he's not giving us anything, quickly go back. But yeah, it was something. Did it bother you during the two nights, or is this just me being picky?
No, I was aware of it at times. Yeah, there is most of the time I don't notice it, but I am aware of it at times. I was aware of it briefly in the Seth Cesaro match, where I was like, and it's one of those things is that when you're thinking about it, you notice it more. Yeah. Usually, I don't notice it though.
Yeah. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. I think for us, we started watching NXT at kind of the birth of that rivalry when Sami Zayn won the title and Kevin Owens immediately attacked him. We've seen that play out through Royal Rumbles. We've seen that play out through pay-per-views, Battleground, Raws, TLC, like all of that. Is this another great chapter in the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn rivalry?
Well, I think that it could have been. Again, one of the things I've been complaining about all weekend with this is just going into it like, what's the story? Where are these two guys at? And like, this story just seems like, this conspiracy thing with Sami Zayn, like, fine. It's one of those things like, yeah, fine. There's a conspiracy against you, and it, WWE seemed to be into it and everything. But it's like, it's not a very good way to like build a feud between these two guys, because it's like, oh, well, I don't think there's a conspiracy. Oh, you're my friend, and then they fight. Like it's a bit weak. You know what I mean? And so they get in the ring. I mean, these guys have got chemistry for fucking days. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they could have gone out there and stole the show. I don't believe they've ever had a singles match at WrestleMania.
No, it's the first time.
And it could have been like one of those show-stealing matches, but it just wasn't for two reasons. One, because they didn't get much time. Like, a lot of the matches on the card, like, weirdly, we go to two nights, and yet every match still seems like a mad sprint, but I don't know why that is, but that's neither here nor there. And the other reason is just like the build-up. Like, it's weird. It's like Sami Zayn's thing. Kevin Owens doesn't feel that involved. If Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn fight at WrestleMania, it should be, to the death. These guys should be full on. They hate each other. So they've done better work in that regard in the past. But in-ring stuff obviously is great. It's never not going to be great, but it just wasn't very long, and there wasn't much to get your teeth into story-wise.
Yeah, I will say, I think that because we've seen this Sami Zayn character at last year's WrestleMania, where he wrestled Daniel Bryan, And I think when we saw that match on paper, we were expecting just a absolute wrestling clinic. And we didn't get that. We got 8 minutes of Sami Zayn running around, Shinsuke and Cesaro doing the dirty work, and then he gets kind of the fluke win. So it's not really the match we were expecting. And so going into this, I was kind of expecting that again. But there's no way these two lads are doing that. Like, there's no way. And you almost feel like they're like, listen, I know I've got this character going on, but I ain't getting in the ring with Kevin Owens and running away from him. Like, we're having a match.
Yeah, and from Sami Zayn's perspective, like, he's tried to be like the baby face, like have these long matches, almost like the Gargano type of thing, like, and he didn't get anywhere doing that. Yeah. So now he's got this goofy thing going on, and they're giving him a singles match at WrestleMania. So if you're Sami Zayn, you're like, well,
he's doing something right.
This then.
And I think this is
from their perspective.
Yeah, and I think this is some of the best stuff he's been doing since he came up to the main roster, which was like 5 years ago now. Yeah. Whether the material or not is weak, he is entertaining because Sami Zayn just is charismatic. Same as Kevin Owens.
Charismatic. Yeah, they're both are.
So to see these guys together is great. And it really does feel like, because Kevin Owens did such a good job with helping establish Roman Reigns over kind of the January, the Royal Rumble season, that this almost just feels like, hey, listen, come WrestleMania time, we haven't got anything for you. Would you like to just go and wrestle your best friend in a singles match? And he's gone, hell yeah, absolutely, I want to do that. And so that's why it kind of feels thrown together, is because I think it was, but in a weirdly like, almost like a reward for good work.
I mean, you know what? Just like, whatever. Like, I'll never complain about seeing these two guys in the ring together, but I just think this could have been like 5-star show stealing match, and it's a shame they didn't go down that road.
Yeah.
Can I just interject here for a second?
Of course you can.
Because I keep forgetting to mention something, and I need to get it off my chest. And once I've done it,
Hulk Hogan in a pirate costume.
No. The fucking, I can't explain to you how much I hate the 3D shit that they project.
The AR projections.
The AR. Oh my god, mate!
The giant skeleton attacking the stadium.
Not just that fine, that stuff is like, but it's the entrances. You spend all this money on fucking a massive set and lighting and a Titantron and everything, and then you cover it up with a big fucking phallic snake, or a braid or a bronze Roman Reigns. Like, I fucking hate that shit so much. And it's only going to look worse with age. And I don't know who's doing it. And I don't know who likes it, but it needs to stop.
I think this goes to our WrestleMania traditions and still makes me laugh today. I can't remember what WrestleMania it was, but the New Day were coming out. And I was just like, whoa, look at all those pancakes. That's amazing. They built this big stack of pancakes. I was so drunk. I did not realize that they were graphics overlaid. I think there was that, and The Miz had the awesome symbol up there. And I was just like, whoa, he's getting a big entrance. And I'm like, nope, it's not real.
I hate it. But the thing is, they are getting big entrances. Like, have some faith in your set design, and conversely, a thing that they have started doing as well to do with the entrances, which I think they robbed from UFC, is they've started doing this like new camera.
The 8K camera.
The 8K, and you've got like the depth of field.
I love it.
And, like,
it makes everything look like a video game, and I love it so much.
It looks like a video game. It looks great. And it's like, just let me see this. This is epic. It was actually. It was the NFL that started using it, and the NFL were on Fox Sports. So then when Fox got SmackDown, Fox were like, you're using these cameras, figure out how. So Raw doesn't have them. SmackDown as well.
Yeah, so Raw doesn't have it. It's just SmackDown.
Right.
So they were like, okay, cool. And then the UFC, I think Fight Night's on Fox as well in America. So they were like, you also now use this technology.
That's what it is. I didn't know, but it looks great.
So
you're right. It makes it look like a video game, and it's a really cool cinematic
Yeah.
feel to it, and it's really, really cool. But mate, someone needs to kill these 3D graphics. And every time I think like, oh, they spent so much money on the set, there's no way they're gonna cover it up with a fucking shitty graphic, and they do every time, and
Every
it
time.
kills me. But go on, let's move on.
And also, just to finish the Logan Paul gets hit with the stunner, much to the joy of the crowd. Sells it like a champ, I gotta say. Sells it like a champ.
Great.
Does a little flip.
Great sell.
I was impressed. Next match is the match I was probably least looking forward to on the card. We got Matt Riddle defending against Sheamus. Speaking of the 3D graphics, the doves.
Oh, God.
And I know they're supposed to deliberately be clip art doves. Man, they are something else. I don't know what's happened to Mr. Riddle. I called him Matt Riddle. He's not even called Matt Riddle anymore. He's just called Riddle.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to Riddle since he joined NXT, but I feel like Vince found out that he smokes pot. And that's it now. That's who you are.
That was kind of his thing already, wasn't it?
It was, but it wasn't. Like, it was part of his character, not his character. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, I have no idea how Rob Van Dam selling his own rolling papers managed to get onto the broadcast. I was like, oh, okay, we're just cool with this now. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the clip from The Bump, which is like one of those talk shows that they do on YouTube now. But they were interviewing Matt, and as they're interviewing him, he kind of looks off to the side, and Rob Van Dam's walked into the room because he's on next, and he just loses it. He like tells the interview to shut up. He like brings him it. It's adorable. It's it's very cute, and they have a fun stonery moment. But that's not what we're here to talk about. US title match. What were your expectations going into this? I feel like you probably forgot this was even on the card, like I did.
Well, when I looked at the card the other day, this was one of those matches I singled out where it was like, yeah, it's another one of these matches that could be a classic. You know, I mean, if you actually like put some work into it, but like, and I'm keep going on about it, but this is the best example of what I'm talking about, is that this feud was built on Sheamus didn't like Matt Riddle's scooter.
Which is understandable.
Like, that's the whole thing. And this is the WrestleMania match that's come from that. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
it's a bit weird. And like, listen, we've had this before. WrestleMania X7, Jericho versus Regal. The whole feud starts because Jericho pees in his tea. It's dumb. Wrestling's dumb.
Yeah. I particularly, but having said that, these two guys are so good. And actually, they had really great chemistry in the ring. Matt Riddle is amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah. Like,
the shit that he does in the ring just looks brilliant. Like, the like, everything, the knees, there's just like a horrendous knee. The Sheamus knees, Matt Riddle, and I legitimately thought he knocked his teeth out.
It was so almost brutal. Like he went for a bro kick, didn't have enough space to get his leg fully up, and went, well, a knee will do.
It was great. So the match again was like, it's the same way I feel like a lot of these matches was like really great for the time that it was on. Could have been more, and I want to see these guys wrestle again. I want to see this go further and actually build a bit more.
Yeah.
But listen,
and I think
both
we will.
These guys are great. Both these guys are great. Matt Riddle, and I actually enjoyed his promo backstage as well. I find him quite entertaining. I find the Stoner thing quite entertaining. And his delivery is good, and he's fun, and he scooter and the belt around. I liked it all, and great wrestlers. I want to see them wrestle for like 30 minutes. Yeah, I want to.
Did Sheamus have the spot of the night? Hitting that beautiful moonsault bro kick.
Oh, yeah.
To finish the match.
That was crazy, yeah.
That made me...
busted him open.
Yeah, that made me do a shout.
Ways to just kick a dude in the mouth, yeah.
And he did. He just fucking booted him in it. Yeah, it was
a really good match.
It was a really good match. Sheamus, Matt, he is safe as house. There's a moment where he goes for white noise off the top rope, and he just loses his balance. So instead of trying to do the move, he just hops down. Then he turns around and looks at the turnbuckle like, I mean, should I climb back? No, never mind, and just does the move from the ground. Like he's. I know that I've just said he's so safe after he's booted Riddle in the mouth, but you know that happens.
Yeah, and you know what? The US title is beneath both of these guys. They should both be doing more. And so hopefully, you disagree. I
think that I disagree. I think Sheamus knows what his strengths are, and that is being wherever they need him to be. Which is why he's won literally everything except for the Intercontinental title. And when I say everything, I mean King of the Ring, Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, and all the belts. Because he's like the ultimate utility player. So if they haven't got anything for the main event for him, this is the perfect place for him to be. And with Riddle, time will come. A little feud with Sheamus helps build him up. Then he's fighting Bobby Lashley, probably. By SummerSlam, or doing something. Riddle's got ages anyway. Like he's surely we're in no rush with Riddle. I don't think. So after that, we then move across to the Intercontinental title match. A match I was very excited for. It's a Nigerian drum fight. Now, I think, much like myself, you probably found yourself going, what does that mean? And then we got there, and it turns out it's just a street fight, but there are some drums around the side.
There are drums.
None of which will be used in this match, because we've got a deposit on these drums, and we would like our money back. This was weird. Stipulation aside, these guys have been feuding for a while, and it's genuinely been one of the most entertaining parts of SmackDown. The only thing I'm not sure with, and I've had this conversation with other people, Apollo doing the accent. It's the accent. Because I know he is of Nigerian descent. His dad's from a small village in Nigeria. So I know it's there.
Yeah, but I'm of Irish descent.
Don't do it. Don't actually do it. What was that?
I think it was a Graham Norton impression. I don't know.
I thought that was Mrs. Doubtfire vibes I was getting, which is Scottish. I don't know how to feel about it, and especially towards the end, because I don't think the other dude's Nigerian, nor a colonel, but his jacket would imply that he was.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the ending. Yeah. Well, I haven't been watching the weekly shows. I don't watch Raw. I don't watch SmackDown. I watch NXT and I watch the pay-per-views, and sometimes I catch the highlights on YouTube. That's the wrestling life I lead at the moment. But it's interesting that you say that this was one of the best feuds that's been going on, and this is what I'm talking about. When these two guys come out, you feel that. You feel it because they're not just telling the audience the story, they're telling themselves the story. They're getting themselves psyched up, and they're getting themselves worked up. So when E comes to the ring, by the way, it wasn't quite the entrance of the night, but it was close. Big E comes to the ring, and it's just super intense, and I'm like, oh shit, Big E means business. And then Apollo Crews, and I was like, I've never seen Apollo Crews like this. This is different Apollo Crews to what I'm used to. The accents took some get to, but I think he might have won me over in the end. And then it carries through to the beginning. They're standing across the ring from each other. I feel it. In a way that I just have for so few matches over all 4 nights. I feel like these two guys want to beat the shit out of each other, and that's what I want. I really want that. Again, the match is too short. I wanted to see more, and I suppose that's to their credit. They went hell for leather. They beat the living daylights out of each other with kendo sticks. Like, you can tell it was one of those things where it's like, no, we're going to swing. we are going to swing.
Oh boy,
And
did they!
It was brutal. I think the ending, was fine. It was a big dude. He did a really good looking like punch chop thing. And I was happy with the match. And again, I'm thinking, God, if this had gone another 10, 15 minutes, could have been a classic again. This is like a running theme for me in the show. I don't know if you agree that like a lot of these matches are solid, but they were such sprints that they never get the chance to be like the classics that they could be.
I get where you're coming from. I've said this to you before. I don't know if I said it on here. For me, the greatest matches, like the best matches in wrestling, won't happen at WrestleMania. I don't think they do happen at WrestleMania. I think the greatest moments, with the exception of Taker and Shawn, with the exception.
Flair Michaels.
No. See, my point exactly. Not a 5-star incredible match, but the best moment. Sorry, I love you. And he's switching music's him. What an incredible moment. Obviously there are exceptions to that rule. Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Brilliant. But then even something like Austin versus Brett, which is one of the greatest moments. You don't remember the match. You remember the moment. You remember the blood dripping down the face and in the teeth. That's what I want. I want those moments.
You're crazy.
I'll be crazy.
You're crazy.
I'm a crazy man. I've not slept for like 5 days. I'm crazy, man.
The Bret Austin match it's a great match.
It is a great match.
Also, Austin Michaels at Mania with Mike Tyson.
Bad match.
A great match.
Bad match.
What?
Not a good match. Go back and watch. When was the last time you watched that? Go back and watch.
Rock Austin.
Bad match. Not a bad match, but not a great match. Not a great match. Great moments. Great moments, and that's what I'm after.
This is a series.
It absolutely is.
This is maybe a new series.
Great match or great moment.
Well, great match or great moment. Writes itself. But yeah, no, fine. I take your point till a later date when I'll have better research.
Listen, I enjoyed this match. And the other thing is, I'm watching this live. I ain't complaining about match length. It's 3 a.m. I'm like, the quicker it is, the more I'm like, yes, I get to go to bed.
That is the problem with watching it in the UK at the time that it is.
Yeah. I was very disheartened when we had the 40-minute delay on night one, because I was like, well, this means I'm now up for 40 more minutes than I wanted to be. And listen, I'm happy to see my boy Babatunde, who ain't going to be called Babatunde, I imagine, because all the commentators
Who is that guy? I don't know who that guy is.
Babatunde is the king of the failed project. We're talking greatest Royal Rumble entrant that we all went, who is that? We're talking Raw Underground, where we all went, who is that and what is that? Babatunde, he's done his time. Now is his time to shine. The greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
One where we sat there going, I mean, listen, at the time of that, I was like, I'm watching literally everything. I have no idea who that man is. Him and the sumo
Same
wrestler.
With Mansoor. Mansoor. Where's his WrestleMania moment?
I mean, Mansoor's WrestleMania moment, he's got the streak of Saudi Arabia. I'm surprised that wasn't The Undertaker's last match. Streak for streak. Book it. Yeah, so I'm excited to see where that goes. I think this is a good... I think Big E's done amazing work, especially with Apollo. He's done a really good job of making Apollo seem like a threat. Apollo, I'm so happy for, because he's a guy where it's just not gotten out of the starting blocks, and now it has, and he's shot out of it.
There's something happening. I love it.
Clicking, and I like it.
I mean, they've both done great for each other. Yeah, keep the Intercontinental title on Apollo. Build him further. He needs to go on to that fucking world title position because he is a fucking star.
And we're gonna get to the world title picture very soon, because I'm very excited to talk about not only the match but where I think that's going. But before we get there, we have the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka defending against Rhea Ripley. We've never seen these two wrestle before, have we? Like ships in the night, constantly missing each other.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So this one of those matches that the build for was terrible. The build for this match was Rhea walked out on Raw and went, "Hello, I work here now. Could I have match at WrestleMania?" And Asuka went, "Sure, I'm not doing anything. That's fine." Which has kind of been Asuka's entire reign now. Has just kind of been her going, "Sure, I'm not doing anything. We'll do a wrestle." Which is a real shame because she's such a charismatic character who's been doing amazing work, and really in those darker days of no fan shows when like there was no crowd noise and no nothing, man, she was carrying those shows with her energy and just her personality. So
it's so funny. It's so funny with Asuka because, like, I think when she came to WWE and her NXT run and everything, I think we were expecting her to be like this, like, big match player. This, like, she's gonna be the one that you don't show all the time, but like at the big moments, at the big pay-per-views, you bring her out and she has these epic matches. And she hasn't been that at all. In fact, she's been like their biggest workhorse. I mean, like Royal Rumble, like a year or two ago, she wrestled twice in one night. Like she's just been this woman that they constantly put out, and they know she's just extremely reliable, and that's the person she's been. And then on top of that, she's had all of these like title runs and stuff. She's been incredibly successful.
Yeah. So and Rhea is someone who has been doing just amazing work from her time in NXT UK, NXT, and now she's on the main roster. So it was one of those where I'm like, it's annoying we haven't got the build up, but these are two fantastic wrestlers that I'm not that worried.
Yeah.
Like, it's still going to be a great match. What were your thoughts on this match, and can you explain to me why Asuka was repping Brazil?
No to the latter question, and I didn't even notice. Well, so I said that Big E had the second best entrance of the night. When Rhea Ripley came out, like,
all right, we've got controversial opinions.
Really, Rhea Ripley comes out, and like the performance, I'm like not in love with, but I think they work into it a little bit. It seemed to me like the music wasn't live, but the singing was. But that's not the end of that.
It was very actually, no, it is here and there. Because I thought the music was terrible. I didn't think the woman singing was particularly great. Considering she is the singer, I was like, oh, this isn't. And there were parts in it. I've watched that match twice now where she's trying to get all the lyrics in, but doesn't have she's singing a different rhythm to what the music is. I don't know. It was weird.
May have been
her entrance
performance
aside,
but
superstar.
I look at her. The pyro goes off. The smoke. I love
foot stomp.
And look at the difference, right? Look at the difference between Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, who have both been doing it for like a similar amount of time. And when Bianca comes out, like the moment is bigger than her, and it gets to her, and she's emotional, and she's not in character, and she's trying to sort of catch up to herself. Rhea comes out, and she is all business, like a face. She's enjoying it, but she's cool. You know, she's got that look, and I'm like, oh God, I'm like, this is the woman. Strap a fucking rocket to her, and let her go to the moon. She's got this.
Yeah.
And then the match happened.
Oh.
And the match did not come together for me at all.
Interesting.
I felt like it was super awkward at times. The pacing was really off. Like it came out the gates really fast, then it slowed down. Rhea was wrestling in this kind of Chris Jericho heel sort of style. And she's like being really vocal at the start, but she drops that later on. And she's like this like cocky heel. And I'm like,
she's doing like the paintbrush into the back of the head.
And I'm like, I don't know if this is who she is. It kind of stunk to me of like outside interference. That's what I felt. Because I was just like, how can you put these two girls in the ring and like it isn't a classic, and it just wasn't to me. It just didn't come together at all. The pacing was super off. They didn't seem to have a lot of chemistry, which is weird because, like I said, Asuka can have fucking chemistry with a wooden pole. She's incredible. But the ending then just seemed to come out of nowhere, and I felt like the crowd as well were like trying to get into it, but they couldn't really because the pacing was super weird. Again, it was short. Like it didn't cohere for me into anything. Having said that, I love Asuka and I love Rhea Ripley, and I do think Rhea Ripley's a star, and I do think she's got what it takes to like have an absolutely monster title run. But the match didn't come together for me at all.
It's fascinating to me how two people can watch the same wrestling match and come away with very different opinions.
Really?
And I don't think this was like a 5-star classic or anything, but I really enjoyed this match. I thought these two worked really well together, and I think the out the gates was really good. Going from the video package of Rhea before the match, it does feel like we're going in a different direction with her a little bit. Like her character just gets tweaked a little bit each time, and it does feel like she's going to be this more heel, more cocky character because kind of, and that's earned because everywhere she goes, she's just dominated until it's time to move on. Like, NXT UK, she was the first women's champion there, beat the best, and then decided, okay, well, now I've got to go to NXT to do the same there. And she did. She beat Shayna Baszler after a massive, almost 2-year run with the belt. Dominated there, beat the best, finally lost it, and then had this little period of, we don't know what to do with you, and now she's shown up on Raw. And the reason she skipped the queue is because she doesn't need to be in the queue because she's better than everyone else there. So to me, that kind of, as you said, like Jericho heel type of thing kind of works for me. Like I see it there. Again, very fast paced out the start. Did slow down a little bit in the middle. And there are a couple of moments where I wasn't sure what was happening. There was a moment where Rhea drop kicks her and it off the top, and it almost felt like Asuka was supposed to land on the apron, but hit the apron and then bounced onto the floor and then had to kind of sell that and then awkwardly get up to the apron for the next spot, which almost then felt like Rhea wasn't ready for because she didn't see Asuka on the apron. So she was like, oh, okay, where's she gone? Oh, I don't know. Could just be me imagining situations. And I do think the finish did kind of come out of nowhere. Which is a bit of a shame. Like I wanted more of a like big moment, and also I know the whole hitting a finisher and then kicking out of it's a little overdone. But if anyone should be kicking out of one Riptide, it should be Asuka. Should get the kick out, and then we have to hit it again. Maybe from the top rope, or maybe just hit it again.
You didn't feel like, oh, this is the finish.
Yeah, I didn't feel like we were there yet.
That's a problem because it doesn't allow you to build tension as a viewer. So like in the best matches, Shawn Michaels versus Austin at WrestleMania, where you're in the finish. You're like, oh, we're here, we've arrived, and that's where the excitement comes.
To the Yeah, and it definitely didn't feel like we were at that point yet. And maybe that's because as well, Rhea's finisher isn't super established. I mean, it's a pump handle slam. It's not the most, oh my God, finisher in the world. I actually think she should update that at some point and get a new finisher. But
I also think the dynamic was off. Like I just didn't feel like, I didn't get what the not that, like, forget the build up and everything, but like the in-ring story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what that was, and so I'm watching the match and I'm just kind of like,
all right.
There's some good stuff in there, but it just didn't come together for me, and I wanted to love it, and I just didn't do it for me in the end.
I also, and I could be wrong, but I don't think we've seen the end of these two. I think this is probably the start of a series of matches until the inevitable Charlotte Flair comes back and does her
Which
bit with Rhea.
Rhea Ripley, I'm telling you, mate, Rhea Ripley should be the champion until next WrestleMania. Like, she could be the star of the company. Like, she has got all the charisma in the world. She's got the look. She's got the in-ring. Like, she's got the intensity. She's got it all. She needs a couple of good feuds with great stories, and we need to ride this wave. Like, we need to ride this wave, and I hope they don't fuck it up.
Yeah. She's also got time. 24.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing that she's as good as she is for how old she is. Yeah. She's such a mature performer.
Yeah. Yeah. Really excited to see where they go with this. And again, I was also really happy to see her win. I think she's worked her ass off. She totally deserves it. More props to her. Before we get to the main event, there is one thing we have not spoken about throughout all these shows.
Right.
And it is Hulk Hogan in a pirate costume. Hogan, Titus, Bayley. How are we feeling about all that?
Well, did you notice that the crowd were not happy with Hulk Hogan?
I noticed on the second night. Didn't notice it on the first night. Never mind. I was playing with a clamp and I dropped it.
Oh, wait. Were you actually?
I was playing with something. It wasn't a clamp, but I just dropped it. Like a dick. Yeah, I didn't notice it on the first night. Second night, I was like, booze. Those are booze.
That's just, yeah, it's a shame. They tried to, I think they thought they'd left it long enough, and turns out, nope. Your audience will not forget that. That's so maybe.
And I don't think they should.
For the foreseeable.
Well,
let's not get.
Listen, keep your Hall of Fame ring. Happily mention Hogan as the important star that he was. We don't need to wheel him out anymore. He doesn't.
Yeah,
I mean, never needs to do anything else.
I agree with that, just because no one is excited by it. They've done it more than anything else because no one cares. Even if they didn't do him, they wouldn't care that he was there. Yeah, so it's they do it all the time, obviously, because he's the guy that says yes. So probably. Bayley was fun. I feel sorry for Bayley. That
she got left.
She didn't get anything. Having literally again people who carried them through the lockdowns, carried them.
I think of everyone that was an MVP of the lockdown era, she's been the one to get the short end of the stick the most.
Yeah.
She didn't even get the match.
And all of these segments, they recognized that. They knew that. And that's why she got all of these segments. Some of them were fine. The last one was the best one, probably. Where's my pyro and stuff, and the bells coming out. And it's hilarious that we're supposed to be cheering, but the crowd are booing the shit out of the Bellas because they love Bayley. So that's a nice moment for her. But yeah, poor Bayley.
Also, one thing I just want to mention before we get to the main event on Asuka, much like Sasha being 0-6, Asuka's now 0-4 at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Crazy to think about.
Workhorse, yeah.
Because it's about the moments, not about the win-loss record.
I never said it was.
No, I know that's a totally different matter. Main event time. It's a triple threat match. Daniel Bryan, Edge, Roman Reigns. When this match first got announced, and it was Roman Reigns, Edge. Yeah. Where were you on the excited level? And then once they added in Daniel Bryan, was that a plus or a minus for you? Initially.
Well, it's interesting because I never knew why we should feel sympathy for Edge. I never got that. I never got this idea that he's injured and now he's back and it's a triumphant moment and we should have felt so sorry for him. It's dude had a fucking hell of a career.
Yeah.
And now he's fucking married to Beth Phoenix in the mountains, mountain biking and enjoying the fruits of his life. I just never understood why this should be a sympathetic, triumphant thing. And then Daniel Bryan being added to the match, I was I don't care because I didn't care about this match. But when the promo package at the start of the match aired and I started seeing a bit more about what was going on SmackDown and stuff, I was oh, all right, because it seemed WWE recognize that. Like they've got Edge going, no, this is me. Like it's mine. It's
It's
mine.
my
And it's
moment.
like,
Yeah.
it's mine. And then and he comes off as really entitled, right? Um, and Daniel Bryan just being like, fuck you. And then Roman Reigns being like, I'm above both of you guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, all right. It all seemed to make sense to me, but in the promo package, because I haven't been watching SmackDown.
That's
So,
fair. And those
so I just
free
didn't
promo
get the Edge
packages,
excitement.
those free promos that those guys cut on the final SmackDown before WrestleMania, did the most to get me excited for this match. Mostly Roman Reigns, especially when he says, "I'm gonna beat you both. You're gonna be staring up at me. $1 million of pyro's gonna go off, and you're gonna acknowledge me as the head of the table." And I'm like,
Yeah.
Man, you are money. You are so good at what you're doing. You love what you're doing as well
so
now.
Far,
It's incredible work. The match itself, once we get going, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, just do you see what I mean about Edge though, in this kind of like entitled?
Oh, absolutely. And I really like the interesting thing about this match is that going into it, Edge's beef wasn't with Roman Reigns. He wanted to wrestle Roman Reigns because he's the top guy. His beef became with Daniel Bryan.
With
because
Daniel
how
Bryan
dare
for taking
you...
his moment away from him.
And
I love that.
What I also love is the entitlement comes from a place of like, well, fair enough. He won the Royal Rumble. Like, you would be like, I won the Rumble. Who are you to just come in now and be like, I want to be added to the match? You didn't win the Rumble. You were in it. And I threw you out.
Yeah, but a pure baby face would be like, I'll take you all on because I'm the hero.
And I love that none of them have fallen. Even Daniel Bryan, he's like, initially he was like, I tell you what, you guys fight night 1, I'll fight the winner on night 2. How's that? Don't want to do that? Okay. Yeah. You guys wrestle, I'll come out immediately afterwards and have the match. And like it wasn't about like the honor of wanting the match. It was, I want the belt now. I want the title. And I'm
out for myself, but at least I'm like honest about it.
Yeah.
We're all selfish, really. You know what I mean? But at least I'm being like, no, I want the fucking belt. Like, I don't care about your moment.
Yeah.
Why would I care? What's that got to do with me?
Yeah.
So I love the promo package. Then weirdly though, Edge comes out and is pure babyface like during his entrance. But whatever.
But Edge has always had that entrance, regardless.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. Yeah. So they're using that promo package to let me know what the story was and hyping me up for the match, and then the match completely echoes the build-up. You know, you follow it through to its logical conclusion and you go, well, what's got to happen is Daniel Bryan's got to cost Edge the match. Roman's got to come out on top, which is the right choice regardless of any of this. And then that's got to set a feud up between Edge and Daniel Bryan. Like, that's what's got to happen. Yeah. And that's what happened. On the way, we get some great spots, some great performances, some really exciting moments in the match, a great and that thing happening where like Daniel Bryan like fucking he ruins the suplex, then he ruins the 3 counts, and Edge just like being so angry. Like it's a great performance from him.
The best moment being the where he hits the spear. He's got Roman 1, 2. Bryan pulls the ref out the ring, and his look, his whole great. Like, you are ruining my life right now, and I'm gonna kill you.
This is so I love it. So you know, this is like a weird thing. I wasn't excited for this match at all, but the story that they told in the ring, I'm like, I haven't seen this before. You know, this is such a creative twist, and there's so much going on in ring. And I bought into the whole thing, and then there's that moment where we're in the finish, like I was talking about before, which is what you want. The match was paced really well. You're like, we're in the finish, it's gonna happen. I don't know where it's gonna. Kind of thought Roman was gonna win, but I don't know how it's gonna happen. And eventually Roman does win, pins them both, which never makes any sense to me because I feel like the guy in the middle it also gets the pin, but whatever. Let's not think too much about it. Wins the pyro, perfect choice. Frees up Roman to go on and be the fucking badass heel top guy that he is and has become, and frees up Edge and Daniel Bryan. Well, it promotes Edge and Daniel Bryan to go on and have this really bitter headlining feud. So for me, for someone who like didn't know anything going in, it was like a perfect package for me. It was absolutely great. Yeah, loved it.
Um, the ending is mainly what I want to talk about. So I've seen a lot of hate thrown towards Jey Uso for the constantly getting involved in the match. Good. Supposed to hate him. He's supposed to be annoying. And what, even as I'm watching the match, I'm like, it gets to that point at the end where Jay's helped him get the super kick, led to the distraction so he can hit them both with the concerto to pick up the win. And, I'm kind of there and I'm like, I like that Roman's using these kind of dirtier tactics, but at the same time, does it make him look like he can't get the job done on his own? And the way he just drags Edge over to Daniel Bryan, slumps him over him, and is just like, I'm pinning both of you. Because there will be no doubt. There will be no rematch for one of you that didn't get pinned, and you can't have that moment. No. I'm the champion. I have beaten you both.
It's great.
Shoulders to the mat, so both of you. And that one moment, for me, I was like, you're up here now. You're like on such a different level to the point now where I'm like, what I want you to do now is I want you to take 2 months off. Just go. There's no point in you being here. There's no challenger. Why stay?
Because Edge and Daniel Bryan can headline a pay-per-view or two. No problem.
They can do Backlash. They can do Money in the Bank, I think is the one after that. They can headline those. Because for Roman, it doesn't even make sense for him to show up on SmackDown. There's no one on his level. Literally no. And they'll build someone because that's how that works. But he might as well just. I like the idea of him being like, I'm gonna hang 10 till you guys find someone else for me. Until
figure
then,
it out.
Peace out. I'm gonna go do adorable family stuff and whatnot. I loved this.
I mean,
match
I definitely agree with like the Jey Uso thing. Like he added nothing to the match. Like because the story wasn't about that. It was about Daniel Bryan getting in Edge's way. Yeah. So,
but it was also
necessary.
It was an exciting start as well. Roman Reigns' first tactic is to just throw them outside and let Jey super kick them. And then Edge has to. It's obstacles put in the way, and then Edge and Daniel Bryan have to figure out how to fix it. And what you would normally get is the two of them ganging up on Roman, take him out of the equation, and go in. That's not the case because they hate each other. So no one's working together. Everyone's trying to, which means everything's taken that little bit longer. And then there are some really cool spots. I loved Roman Reigns hitting the powerbomb through the table on Daniel Bryan. Like it was nothing. He doesn't go down with him or anything. He just throws him off the steps and then just stands there like, yep, that's what I do. And then getting hit with the spear that looked like it sucked. And
the crowd are booing him. The crowd are booing the shit out of him, but it's like it's the good kind of heat now.
It's absolutely. Like, and fair play good for the crowd to boo him, because if I was there, I don't know if I would have been booing him, because I love this character. You should boo him because he's the bad guy, but at the same time, I love it so much. Like, I don't know if I'd want to. There's one moment in the match that I thought was quite funny where Edge and Roman hit both of them spear at the same time, so they just spear each other, which I thought looked cool. And then I thought I was immediately meant to feel like it wasn't cool because Corey Graves goes, "Oh, that was terrible," obviously implying like, "Oh, that must have really hurt."
Painful.
But the way he says it is, he's like, "Oh, that was terrible." It was like he was watching Tamina and Natalia again. I love this match. I think this was. I don't think WWE somehow have ever gone wrong with a triple threat match in the main event of WrestleMania. We've seen 3 of them now. All 3 of them have been fantastic. All 3 of them have been very different. I'm very excited to see where all this leads to.
And that's what it is as well. And I think that's important for a WrestleMania match. It shouldn't just a WrestleMania match shouldn't just be the end of the feud.
Yep.
And the reason for that is because WrestleMania is when you get the most eyes on the product. So a WrestleMania match needs to be, it's the end of something, but it's clearly the start of something new as well. Yeah. And this was exactly that.
definitely. So that was WrestleMania. Overall, how did you feel about it as an entire 2-night show? And then we'll get on to best match, worst match. So what did you think of this year's WrestleMania?
Overall, I liked it. My expectations were very low because I'm so unhappy with the way that the majority of the main product is booked. So going in with those low expectations, I actually enjoyed it. I had fun. I was never really bored. I was angry at some of the booking, but what pissed me off was the Tamina and Natalia thing. Because out of everything, I think that's the only thing that really hurts the product. And it's just done out of a pure place of blind nepotism. But other than that, even the stuff I was unhappy with, I was like, fine, let's get on with it. Let's see where it goes. So is it the best WrestleMania in the world? No, not by a long way. There are just the main problem still persists, which is all of this shit is for the most part half-assed. Unless you're like the main event, your story is going to be thrown together in the month or two before the Royal Rumble, and you even if it's to do with fucking the scooter or whatever it is, if you're lucky, yeah.
That was thrown together a week ago.
It's a few weeks.
Yeah.
So that's a huge problem, and it needs to get better. But for the most part, I love seeing the fans back, and I had fun during the show. I enjoyed it, and a hell of a main event.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love this WrestleMania, and I think less for the matches and the quality, and more for the fans, the atmosphere, the just that it's what I wanted, right? It's all the things that I craved. It was so disappointing last year. Like, it was such a sad experience, watching it with yourself over Skype and awkwardly sat there watching them awkwardly wrestle in an empty room. And I appreciated the effort that went into it, but at the same time, it almost highlighted the problems that were going on in the world to their worst extent. This year, it was starting to feel that way. There was a glimmer of hope that we'd all be able to get together again and watch it. Wasn't to be. So I was kind of just like, well, at least, fingers crossed the show is at least something of its former self. And it was, I think they did a brilliant job having 2 nights where I got to just forget the troubles of the world. Someone out on the street is very much having troubles in the world right now. There is some fight kicking off down there. This is what happens when you open the pubs again in the UK.
Everyone's pissed. Yeah.
Everyone on the street is pissed. But yeah, so this just did a great job of 2 nights where I just got to forget what was going on in the world, listen to some crowds cheer, watch some great wrestling, and see pyro explode, which is always good fun. So I was very happy with this. Best match, worst match?
I'm so surprised that I'm saying this, but I think the best match was the main event.
I think I agree.
I didn't think in a million years that would be my answer, but I think the best match was the main event, just because it you know what I love when the wrestling itself puts over the story. You watch the match and the story, and that's just, only the real pros can do that. And what you had in the ring there were 3 real fucking pros. So I think that was the best match of the weekend. So fittingly, the main event. The worst match was obviously the women's tag title match on night 2. By a country mile. Like, what the fuck is it doing on the show? So that's what I would go with. What about you?
Exactly the same. I think there are some matches that did. The street's going crazy tonight. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can.
Everyone can. No one's watching. It's fine. There were some really great matches throughout. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins comes to mind. Bianca and Sasha, I think, did an amazing job on night 1. Riddle and Sheamus, Big E and Apollo, but that main event was just on such a different level. It's one of those matches that I'm like, people should watch this when they're learning about in-ring
psychology,
and how to tell your story using the in-ring stuff.
And it's the thing is, like I was saying, like, I do feel like they also got time, because they were the main event. Like, and I do feel like so many of these matches, given more time and more story, could have been that, because we're talking about real, like, amazing pairings. Cesaro, Seth, like you said, Sheamus, Riddle, even Big E, Cruz, like that. These matches, fucking Owens, Zayn, like these matches all could have been that. So that's what I lament, if anything. But yeah, generally, like, there's just a lot of great stuff. It does feel like a wrestling sort of feast, and yeah, just capped off brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that does it for our WrestleMania recap. No, we will not be recapping Raw and SmackDown. You're going to have to go elsewhere for that. We do not do weeklies. We're going to go back to our current bread and butter, which is looking at wrestlers who didn't quite make it. Even though that concept has been changed and tweaked slightly by Mr. Morgan, acting like we were both in on it on the last one. You're like, we both agree that it's changed in focus. I'm like, no, we haven't. Where's this? Nice try. So the next time you see us will be on Thursday. We will be talking about Victoria, her time with the WWE, her time with TNA, which I'm very excited to talk about because I loves me some Impact. And those matches, we have a Twitter account now, I should probably say. It is at Brassringers Podcast. Mm-hmm. Which one?
At Brass Ringers.
Just at Brass Ringers.
Brass Ringers.
So we will put the matches over there on the Twitter account so that you can go find them, give them a watch. That'll be on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of Victoria. And until then, Dan, have you got anything to plug?
No.
Which is weird because you have stuff going on. You just refuse to plug it to our audience of none.
There will be people watching. A couple of years down the line, this will be like history. These first few episodes.
Absolutely. Yeah. When we're doing our live tailgate WrestleMania shows, people be like,
now, this time next year, next WrestleMania, we'll
be pointing at a WrestleMania sign there.
Oh, yeah.
Doing a live podcast.
0 to 1,000 in 1 year. It's happening.
I can get behind that. 0 to 1,000. Yeah. That's doable. I'll take it. Cool. Right. Well, we don't have anything to plug, and I want to go to bed, so I'm gonna end this now. Peace. See you on Thursday.
See you later.